IKIM FM, inspirasi utama anda. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good afternoon to the dear listeners of Evening Hours at IKIM FM. Welcome to this special interview. I'm your host, Patricia Afrina, and in this episode, I'm honored to be in the presence of a respected figure in politics and also in the education system in Malaysia, Dr. Maszlee Malik. Born in Johor Bahru, Dr. Maszlee bin Malik attended the English College, now Sultan Abu Bakar College and Mahat Johor. He obtained his bachelor's degree in Islamic jurisprudence from the University of Al-Bayt, Jordan, and his master's degree in the same field from the University of Malaya, Malaysia. He completed his doctorate in political science from Durham University with his doctoral thesis titled Constructing the Architectonics and Formulating the Articulation of Islamic Governance, a discursive attempt in Islamic epistemology. Now, Dr. Maszlee bin Malik is currently serving as the chairman of the International Institute of Advanced Islamic Studies Malaysia, IAIS. Notably, he is known for serving as the Minister of Education under the former Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad from May 2018 until his resignation in January 2020. He also served as the 7th President of the International Islamic University Malaysia, IUM, and as the Member of Parliament MP for Simpang Renggam from May 2018 to November 2022. Well, I have a lot to talk about him, but let's hear from the person himself. I welcome to the studio Dr. Maszlee Malik. Assalamualaikum, Doctor.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi Patricia. Thank you for the lengthy introduction.
It's such a pleasure to have you in the studio. And how are you, Doctor?
Alhamdulillah, the pleasure is always mine, and I feel very great to be in the studio today.
Alhamdulillah, Doctor. I'm thrilled to have you here. And in this interview, Doctor, we would like to seek your insights as the former Minister of Education in Malaysia on our country's capabilities in producing quality future leaders. But before we go into that in depth, let us start with a conversation about yourself, Doctor. Since your resignation, what have you been doing?
I've been doing all sort of things. You mean after my resignation as the Minister of Education? Oh, that was the early 2020.
2020.
So I was still the Member of Parliament for Simpang Renggam. So I did my best for my constituency and my constituents. So I think I spent most of my time with them over there, especially during the COVID-19, during the lockdown. So a lot of things we have been doing there, like taking care of their welfare, their well-being, the internet connection, and a lot of other things in order to facilitate the constituents to overcome and to live amid the turbulence that everybody was facing then, especially for a place like Simpang Renggam. It's a semi-urban, and I would like semi-urban, semi-rural. It's quite a mixture of both. Children were struggling then. Parents were struggling similarly with different kind of magnitude. A lot of people were facing a lot of difficulties. So I spent most of my time doing my best then as a Member of Parliament, apart from attending the parliamentary sessions that been put on halt due to the Darurat Ordinance.
The COVID-19.
COVID-19. But after it was lifted, so we attended the Parliament and trying to give kind of check and balance to the government then, or governments. There were two governments then, under two different prime ministers. And also I was appointed at the Parliament level as the chair for the Special Select Committee for Education. So there we were trying to keep the check and balance for the Minister of Education and the Minister of Higher Education. So we came up with a lot of proposals, with a lot of suggestions, and if you still remember, I did table my own post-COVID-19 education plan for Malaysia. And then the general election came again. I contested, but unfortunately I didn't manage to secure the seat anymore. Yeah. And the rest is history.
Yes, Doctor. And Let's go into your career life. So you started as a lecturer, then you got involved into politics.
And you forgot to mention that in your earlier lengthy introduction. You forgot to mention that. I think that's the most important part in my life.
About your being a lecturer.
19 years
19
approximately.
years.
Yeah.
So you started in
99.
1999 until even until now, right? You're still a lecturer.
I was lecturing in 1999 in one of the colleges in Johor, and then I moved to Kuala Lumpur. I moved to UIA. I was accepted to be a language teacher, Arabic language teacher.
Teacher.
At the Islamic University Matriculation Center. Then it was in PJ. That was towards the end of 1999. I'm mistaken, it's December, but I started teaching only in the beginning of February, the 1st February. So that was my first experience ever teaching in IIUM. And then I have to quit the post of academia in March 2018.
So that's when you started to get involved in
politics, because I decided to participate in the upcoming general election then. So as part of the law that I cannot keep both, and so I have to relinquish that position. Unlike in many developed countries, you can still continue your position in the academia, although you got involved in politics. But that was not a case of Malaysia, so I have to relinquish my my position in academia, and I was a jobless person for 2 months.
While waiting for the election.
Yeah, doing the campaigns and got involved with the party, and the rest was history.
So going back into you're shifting from being a lecturer into fully involved in politics. So during your time as an MP, as an education minister, you face a lot of criticisms, right? We know that through news, to the point where you were called certain names. Well, being someone known is not without its own challenges. So how do you bring yourself going through the shift for, I would say, like different types of life?
I mean, it depends on what you wanted to achieve in your life. I mean, when I got back from the UK in January 2011, I only have one thing in my mind and my heart, which is to bring Malaysia into a better situation. I mean, with whatever capabilities that I have, with whatever opportunities that I can grab. I mean, I want to give the best for the country. I want to make sure Malaysians deserve the best, deserve better than what they're enjoying at the moment. So this is where, when I came back, apart from being a lecturer at International Islamic University, I got involved with a lot of social activism, and Sinar Harian, Wacana, and debat was nothing strange to my name then. So, because I still remember when I spoke to the late Haji Fikri and also his brother Datuk Samuddin, we said that we need to educate the masses. We need to educate the people with a mature politics. So then, Wacana Sina or Debat Sina that was organized every month, we could see it as a potential space, a potential forum for that endeavor. So, yeah, I got involved actively in that. And apart from doing researches, apart from teaching and lecturing at the university, I also got involved with certain other activities in producing materials to educate the masses. I still remember I got the opportunity to assist Media Prima to produce Ilmuwan Islam, talking about, if I'm not mistaken, Al-Jazari on robotics and automata, music therapy by Ibn Sina and a few others, talking about engineering by the three Banu Musa brothers, and economic and education by Ibn Khaldun and the rest. So and a lot of other documentaries that I got involved with. So I thought that whatever I do, I want to do it for the best of the Ummah and for the best of the nation. So after experiencing all those, I thought that I need to do more, and I could see how our country had been lagged behind to further becoming a more developed country, a more mature when it comes to politics and democracy and governance, due to the lack of good governance, due to the, let we say, the rampant, let we say, misuse and abuse of power and corruptions. So I thought that I would like to contribute in the field of politics. A lot of politicians, friends amongst the politicians, keep asking me to join politics since 2013 election. I still remember the current Prime Minister, PM Max himself, invited me to his house in 2013, just a couple of months before the general election then, to join Keadilan, to participate in the election. But I have to turn down the offer because I was not really ready yet. So I was preparing myself.
So this was 5 years before?
Yeah. So trying to find the best way to make sure that I'm filling a real gap in Malaysian politics. I just don't want to be just another politician, just another passenger in the wagon. No, I want to make sure that whatever I do, I really bring a significant change in it, and I really bring meanings to whatever I involved with. So this is where I think my thesis is about good governance. I thought that I should try to implement whatever I've learned, whatever I've been teaching, whatever experience that I've gained abroad to Malaysia through politics. But I was preparing myself.
For 5 years?
For 5 years, or maybe more than that.
More than that, actually.
Since I graduated, since I obtained my PhD. Education is always part of my heart, part of my soul. So if I really want a better Malaysia, a better nation, a better future for the people, I need to change the education system. So this is where I still remember I took it as a challenge and as a jihad for me. I mean, as a crusade for myself. I mean, to give the best for the nation through education. So we started to embark in a journey which was full of, let we say, turbulence and waves and tsunami. Then, because people always resist to change, and honestly, when we talk about education in Malaysia, it's very political. So it's a hot potato to pick up, but again, you need to do something, and you need to be brave enough. Sometimes you talk about big things, politicians, they don't really appreciate, but they always try to pick up and cherry picking all the small, tiny, wee bit things and try to frame it as something big that is ended up just like what Patricia mentioned earlier. I was called by names or whatever then, but now everybody thank to whatever we have done, and a lot of people still longing for what we have started, but we have not managed to finish them. There's a lot of unfinished businesses. So, but the gist of it is, it's all about trying to bring the best for the country, because I believe Malaysians and Malaysia deserve better and deserve best.
Yes, and it's very interesting you mentioned that, because years ago in an interview with a local news company, you talk about where you place politics compared to education. And in that interview, you mentioned that for you, what you are thinking on that time about is only to reform education to a better position. And the only thing that comes to your mind is a better future for the children.
I told them I have a very clear vision for Malaysian education. I want Malaysia to be at par or better than Singapore when it comes to math and English. I want to make sure Malaysia or Malaysians become at par or better when it comes to teaching, school management, and curriculum like Finland, and I want Malaysians and Malaysia become at par or better than Japan when it comes to values and discipline. I want Malaysian education to be at par or better than Germany when it comes to TVET education.
Yes.
And I want Malaysia to be at par or better than, France when it comes to art, culture, and, all those kind of things, philosophy. But Rome wasn't built in a night.
Yes.
All the changes require a proper study, a proper measurement before it could embark. So this is where a lot of committees that we have established, and I think the most significant ones was the Jawatankuasa Kajian Dasar Pendidikan Negara that was tasked to a group of experts. There are scientists, there were educators, there were professors, and none of them are politicians. We try to avoid politicians from all these things, and towards the mid of 2019, they presented to me and then to the Prime Minister the result of their research. Out of their more than 16,000 engagements with stakeholders, and they came out with their proposal. And the most interesting part in their proposal was the new education model. So it was supposed to be implemented in 2021.
But then what happened?
And it's supposed to be endorsed by the cabinet by 2020, but the change of government, and then, and God knows what happened to that proposal. But I have turned that into writing in my part of them in my book CPR for Malaysian Education. It was published by Kawandanet. Yeah.
So actually, I was about to ask you about how could your plan, your aspiration could fix the cracks that you see in our education system.
It requires a holistic reform. You cannot just patching here and there. You cannot just remove here and replace it with this thing. No, it wouldn't work that way. We cannot work in silos. And piecemeals is not the answer for a holistic education reform for Malaysia. I mean, you need to look at education as a whole. You cannot just look at it from, for example, preschooling only, or primary schooling only, or those in the urban area only, or those in the rural area only. I mean, we have a lot of things to discuss about education. I still remember when I first came to the office, trying to have an eagle view on national education, so you find 1,001 problems that we inherited. I mean, through I would say years and decades that need to be fixed. But at the end of the day, I realized that we're still stuck with the narration and with the complexity of the 90s. I mean, in the 90s, the government was responding towards the socio-economy and global situation that Malaysia was facing, hence our educational system then. So it lasted until early 2000s, and then the year 2000s, nothing changed much. And so when I came to the office, I found that we're still living with the education system with the 90s approach, which need to be changed. I mean, nowadays we're living with IR 4.0.
Yes.
We're living with gig economy. We're living with AI, big data, and a lot of things. And it requires massive changes to our education. But unfortunately, those were not really addressed holistically. I mean, yes, we did talk about how to revamp the education. Some so-called experts saying that, we need English education. Some say that, mathematics and sciences need to be taught in English. Some said, no, actually what we need is perkasakan bahasa Melayu. Some would come and say, no, we need programming curriculum. At the same time, we are facing with a lot of dilapidated schools. in rural areas, mostly in Borneo, in East Malaysia. At the same time, we're facing with, after COVID-19, there's a lot of, let me say, lost learning students. I mean, according to World Bank report, Malaysia scores more than 40% of lost learning. I mean, children at the age of 10 are still struggling to read, write, and counting.
The basic skills.
They're still struggling. But, we are sweeping everything under the carpet. I mean, we still remember in the parliament then, in the year 2021 or 2022, I brought the issues of cosmetic reportings of the Minister of Education that have been done by officers at the district level, at the state level, and they tried to push the schools to come up with cosmetic reports on the expense of the children capability and I would say that the future of the children. You just couldn't imagine. I mean, 40% of our students are still at the age of 10, still struggling with all these basic education skills. So what more? I mean, people are now talking about STEM education this, STEM education that. And I mean, a couple of months ago, our Prime Minister was bold and brave enough to say that we are amongst the worst in ASEAN. It's not only based on the PISA examination result, but also reports by OECD, by World Bank, by UNESCO, and you just name any research that has been done globally, we could see that we scored amongst the worst due to our response or our did not responding to the pandemic. Trust me now, despite of whatever we see, foreign direct investment coming, but are they really having trust in our graduates? I don't know. But the current debate, or the current discussion about allowing foreign students to continue working in Malaysia shows the lack of confidence of the industry locally on the quality of our graduates.
So the
So
problem
we need
is
to
that-
overcome that.
So the main problem here is at the very root, at the very core of the education itself, correct me if I'm wrong, is outdated
Yes,
with
true.
the current economy, with the current
With the
situation.
current startup, with the current global economic situation and the global technology, people are running while we are still crawling.
And I would like to touch on that about you mentioned about the 10 years old that still having difficulties in trying to read, trying to write, and also trying to count. I still remember one of your plans was to abolish exams for people's in years 1 to 3, and we did, right? And the vision is to wanting to students enjoy the learning process more than focus on preparing for exams. However, nowadays we could see that some teachers and parents are complaining that with the shift away from exam-oriented culture, students no longer feel the pressure to study. So in your opinion,
There are
what...
three things. If you still remember, when I introduced the approach of eliminating exam from tahap 1,
Yes, that's
year
it.
1 to year 3, it comes along with other things. Number 1, teachers training. Number 2, scholarly teachers program. We want to make sure that our teachers becoming scholars. Yeah. Number 3, empowering the school. Number 4, reading culture. Number 5, speakers corner. So it's just not only a piecemeal approach. It couldn't be that way. People were deceived. Now they're talking about, abolishing examination and replacing it with PBD, penilaian berdasarkan bilik darjah.
Yes.
That was a very primitive approach before me. When I came, I did not come out with this replacing that. No. I was looking at the more comprehensive, holistic approach towards education. Yes, you want to abolish examination. In the long run, it couldn't be done abruptly. It must be based on stages. Are the teachers ready? Are the parents ready? the children definitely, whatever you give them, they just take it. But is our media ready then? I mean, our environment, the ecosystem of education, are they ready for it? I mean, that is why, you still remember, in 2018, we launched a lot of initiatives.
Yes.
Concurrently. Yes, elimination of examination, year 1 and year 3. I wasn't the one who eliminated UPSR. And when the government then abolished UPSR, I came up with my own writings suggesting what should have been done first before we coming with such a big decision. So people can still read it. I wrote in Malaysia Kini, in both English and Malay. They can refer to it. If I'm mistaken, even it was written in Chinese, in Mandarin, on my position on the abolition of UPSR. It's not about abolition this, abolition that, replacing this with that. No, we should have a much comprehensive plan for it. That is why, just like I mentioned earlier, you want to abolish the exam culture, make sure the teachers are well trained, the school are being empowered, autonomy, they have the autonomy, the reading culture must be there, the speaker corner must be there. I mean, inculcating all the skills among students must be there. And the revamp of the curriculum must come first. With the current, if you look at the primary school curriculum, I mean, I really pity not only the children, but also the parents and the teachers especially. And before you do anything, just make sure it comes from the teachers themselves. Consult them. And, real appreciation, real recognition to the teachers must be there. This is why I still remember a lot of people are saying that, hey, why a lot of teachers still missing you and still... I said, because I appreciate them, because I really them to be at the place where they should be. I mean, people like to put their blame on the teachers. I mean, parents alike, sometimes you have NGOs, sometimes you have politicians blaming teachers on everything, whereas, teachers are not being given the rights that they deserve. They were not given proper training. They were not given proper incentive. They were burdened with a lot of reportings. So remember, among the earliest thing that I've done, I abolished all this clerical job for teachers.
Yes.
So it should come together. If you want to abolish examination, people will say, hey, how come you want to abolish examination, replace it with PBD, but yet you said that you wanted to leave the burden of the teachers? I said, I did that. But it's very unfortunate with the change of government, with the change of the minister, they did not continue what we have started. And with COVID-19, I mean, we need a total revamp. We need a fresh reform to our education. But I cannot say much of what's going at the moment. I'm not in that position anymore.
And concerning to that, now that our education landscape has evolved with technology integration like AI and digital learning, where do you see improvements in the workload carried by our teachers?
You can see that in part of my writings in the book CPR for Malaysian Education. I explain that in not in length, but not in brief, not in length, but in details. Maybe not very particular, but in a very significant way on how we can make full use of AI and big data in order to facilitate, in order to ease the burden of the teachers. I still remember during my time, among others, that I decided was to allow teachers, to stop teachers from wasting their time taking attendance. That could be done digitally, and I'm not sure what I heard from the teachers. They started doing that again after I was no longer minister. Now, you must appreciate teachers. Leave all those unnecessary burden from them and let them do their core business, which is to educate the children, to give the best to our children. I mean, mendidik kemenjadian murid, to make sure that teachers are there to unleash the very potential of every single children of ours. I mean, trust me, our teachers are good in that. Trust me, our teachers are very dedicated, are more than capable to do that, provided we lift their burdens of the clerical jobs and unnecessary burdens, give them significant times and significant hours of training, give them a lot of exposures, and give them freedom to explore their own creativity, and empower the schools. Autonomy. Give autonomy to schools. Hence the autonomy for the teachers.
And I would like to go back into the conversation about the future of the younger generation, about the school children. So currently there has been quite a conversation on social media about younger generation losing interest in furthering their studies. So some opt to become social media influencers as it can generate more income faster than the typical route, through university. So how concerned should we be about this?
We should be very concerned. I mean, I just couldn't imagine students not going to school anymore just to become influencers, just to become, these riders delivering things to houses. I mean, yes, I'm not looking down at those kind of jobs, but school is very important for them to learn not only knowledge, but to learn about life. But then school must be interesting. School must be happy. School must be a place where children found their let we say serenity and their sanctuary. I mean, I'm not talking like they're just like animal. They need a sanctuary. I mean, a holy sanctuary for not only for the children but also for the teachers and the parents alike. I mean, media should play a greater role in convincing parents and children that they need to go to school, and school need to be more interested, need to be happier. I mean, teachers need to be happier. If teachers are not happy, how in the world the children are going to be happy? If the teacher failed to convince the children that they need to come to school and not only browsing and swiping their phones, I mean, and that's the sheer failure of education in any country. So I think, yes, awareness is one thing, but again, we need to bring back happiness to schools. And we need to bring back the reading culture. Reading culture is very pertinent. Now I hear less about the cultivation of reading culture, unlike in the 2080s and 2090s. TVET education is another thing. I mean, you need to expose students with skills and those kind of things to make them feel that they really need something meaningful in their life. And, literature must be celebrated. Arts and culture must be celebrated at schools. Otherwise, school is not only where you go to collect A's in your examination papers. I mean, yes, it's very important to get excellent result, but again, that is not the main goal. The main goal is to learn about life, to learn about happiness, to learn about love, to learn about mutual respect. This is what school was being created. I mean, we need to teach our children on how to be a humane human being, and while not losing interest in learning and accumulating new knowledge. Yeah.
Now, I would like to bring this conversation forward into the future, looking at the future of our younger generation. I would like to ask for your opinion in the education perspective. How inclusive is the leadership development process here in Malaysia, and what steps can be taken to ensure that individuals from diverse backgrounds have equal opportunities to become future leaders?
Okay, this is where big data is very important, and we should be guided by artificial intelligence. Again, you can read that in my book, CPR from Malaysian Education, and I also talk about it in my book, Memory is Not Memoir. And some of them I did also mention in my speeches that I also compiled in a book called Book of Speeches. But one thing I would like to highlight is diversity is our strength in Malaysia. You couldn't find any other country in the world like Malaysia, where diversity, plays a very important role in shaping the way we look at our life. But we are not really appreciating and celebrating that diversity, despite of being our strength. Okay, honestly, what diversity could bring to you? Multilingual citizen that could see life from different perspectives, citizen that could respect each other despite of differences, learning different point of view in looking at life, at the world, and worldview. What diversity could bring also is to have a citizen that could think beyond their cocoon and beyond their safety net. Their safe zone. Not safe zone again. Beyond their, let me say, comfort zone. This should be the way. But we are not really celebrating this. Okay. Why? If you look, you're talking about leadership formulation in the future, having, let me say, proficiency in languages is one of the factors that could catapult our younger generation to become great leaders of the world. You know, having proficiency in different languages will make you different from others, definitely. But we are lacking of this. We are still talking about the inability of a lot of our children and citizen adults alike, even in conversing in our national language. We're still complaining and we're still struggling with the proficiency of English amongst our students and English teachers even. I mean, are we still complaining about, they are vernacular schools and whatnot? I mean, let's face it. I mean, we live in a multilingual society. At least I could imagine, the least, everybody must be, must have certain level of proficiency when it comes to national language, Bahasa, and English. I mean, in compared to other ASEAN countries, put aside Singapore and maybe Philippines, our English is much better, in general. But again, the level and the standard of it is not really there in compared to what it was in the 60s, in the 70s. Why don't all of us in Malaysia have our third and fourth language? Mandarin and Tamil, for example, is always there. I mean, you go out to the street, you open the telly. I mean, you go to the shops, the groceries, to the shopping centers. You could easily listen to Mandarin here and there, and you mix around with your friends at Kampung, at Taman. You can hear the people conversing in Tamil. Why don't we celebrate this? And trust me, a multilingual Malaysian would be different from the rest of the single language person in other part of the world. A multilingual Malaysian would be different from the other nationalities in the world. But we're not really celebrating this. That's number one. And number two, you're talking about equal opportunities when it comes to education. I'm not sure whether you still remember, I did talk about big data when I was a minister then, and we established big data committee at the ministry, in which we're trying to get the data of the students, and by the usage of artificial intelligence, we try to analyze the potential of every student and try to build from that, or try to push from that, or try to channel from that where the student should emphasize and should choose their career path since the early high schooling days. And we could avoid mismatch in their tertiary level. Not only that, we could, cultivate their potential at the very earlier stage. For example, during the high schooling days. I mean, nowadays, we have a lot of means towards that. I still remember I was thinking of bringing gaming to the schooling system in order to understand psychometric of every student, and from there we can help all students to unleash their potential. So this is the job of the teachers. They will be assisted by artificial intelligence, by big data. I mean, yeah, you can read in my books.
Sure, I will sure to read that, Doctor. The CPR for Malaysian education,
Yeah.
right? Mm-hmm.
You can find it at kedaidrmaszlee.com.
Kedai.maszlee.com. And I would like to touch again. You talk about having a we as in Malaysia we have a multicultural, right? So in a way it also goes into having multi ideologies, and I want to ask for your opinion briefly. In your experience, how do cultural and societal norms impact the substance of diverse leadership ideology that certain leaders have?
Okay, this is where I still remember there were three major mantras that I always mention and are always living with during my days at the Minister of Education: love, happiness, and mutual respect. I believe these three major principles is the core of education, is the core of, let we say, coexistence, and the core of living peacefully with one another. Love, happiness, and mutual respect.
Despite different backgrounds.
Despite different ideologies, despite different background, despite different faith, different everything. And our diversity can only be guided with these three major principles: love, happiness, mutual respect. How to translate these three major elements in education? So this is what I've been trying to do, and this is what I'm trying to celebrate it during my days at the ministry. Love. I mean, we don't really emphasize on love. Happiness. Sometimes, education is all about stressful, about depression, and about, hatred. Whereas education should all be dedicated towards attaining happiness. You find any philosophers in the past talking about politics, talking about life, talking about philosophy, talking about economy. I mean, the culmination of it would be the attainment of happiness. Imam Ghazali talking about happiness. Al-Farabi, when you talk about Al-Madinah Al-Fadila and about Al-Madani, he talks about attainment of happiness and mutual respect. I mean, what is the value of straight A's if you don't know how to respect others? Where is the value of getting the flying colors in your schooling days or in the university if you don't know to respect differences? So this is where mutual respect is another element that should be inculcated, should be embedded in our education system.
And I have one final question, Doctor. In the face of evolving challenges and demands in the 21st century, how can the education system adapt or even evolve to ensure that continuous production of capable and adaptive future leaders?
Okay. I think I've spoken a lot about all those elements that would be the answer of that question. But again, I would like to remind you, Malaysia was never and will never be lack of experts. We have experts in psychology, we have experts in education, we have experts in all sorts of things. But these brains must be engaged, must be tapped, must be recognized, and must be, let we say, put in the right place in shaping the future of our country. Amongst the things that I really emphasized during my term, or during my very short term in the ministry, approximately 20 months, is engaging with the brains, tapping them, either in the committees that we establish or engage with them in a lot of our, let we say, syndication. I mean, we get their views. Not only their views, we want them to be part of the policy making. So, again, I would like to reiterate, the answer to your question is try to appreciate, recognize and engage with all those experts that we have. It's very unfortunate. Sometimes we find our experts are more recognized abroad rather than our own country. I still remember when I just came back from Iran a couple of weeks ago, my thesis had been used at the Bahishti School of Governance, in which that school or that institute was meant to train the ministers, deputy ministers, member of parliaments, and the bureaucrats of Iran. That book was was translated into Farsi and was taught at that school or at that institution to all those leaders of that country, and never being used in my own country.
So what's the name of the book? Sorry for asking that.
My book, Foundations for Islamic Governance.
Foundation for Islamic Governance.
It was published by Routledge publication. It's an international publication.
I see.
And I mean, that's very selfish of me mentioning about myself, but a lot of others amongst our experts, they are being celebrated, they have been appreciated, they have been recognized abroad, but not in Malaysia. Hence a brain drain. So we need to tap back all our brains, bring them back and get the best of their brain in order to develop and in order to bring this country towards the next level.
So,
Because Malaysians deserve better.
yes. So, we still have a long way to go in improving the
Not
Malaysian
if we do
education.
it together. Not if we do it together.
So everyone have to come hands in hand and do it.
Yes.
And with that being said, I would like to thank Dr. Maszlee for his insight on today's topic. Is
I
our
thank you.
country
Tricia.
is our country capable of producing quality future leaders? And dear listeners, we hope that today's discussion will be beneficial and also inspiring to all of you. And if you miss any part of the show, you can watch it again through our Facebook page and also through our YouTube, IKIM. And Doctor, again, thank you for being with us in the studio.